Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live video morning at the Damage Report. We've got our full show coming up in just a half an hour. I've got two awesome guests that are going to be joining me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get to all of that, I did want to let you know about a couple of things that I can't fit into the full show that sort of combine together in a way that I find pretty nice. Donald Trump is at the beginning of a year that is going to be very rough for him, I think. He has spent the last couple of years doing horrible things, saying terrible things. All of that obviously has a significant effect day by day on the American people, but they are going to be used and put into ads that are going to be devastating against him. And because of how much he watches television, he is going to see all of those ads over and over and over again. I know maybe you too are. I can't wait for Bernie Sanders to start running general election ads against Donald Trump. I think they're going to be devastating. Well, today we're way out from that, but today we're already seeing ads hitting him from both sides, and they're both pretty fun. So first, let's talk about this is a conservative group that is putting together these ads. It's Defending Democracy Together, which is a bit Orwellian, would put in that way, but especially because Bill Kristol's the one who's leading it. But anyway, he's doing a good thing here. So the ad ostensibly is talking about how it's time for President Pence. And so it's like sort of like talking up Pence in a way designed just to attack Trump. So it says things like Mike Pence doesn't brag about sexually assaulting women. Mike Pence doesn't pressure foreign governments to investigate his political rivals. Mike Pence doesn't mock and make fun of people with handicaps. And to all of this, there's the footage of Trump doing and saying those things, obviously. And then it adds in this way that I love is, like, it's again a slam on Trump, but also kind of a slam on Pence. It ends with the tagline, Donald Trump is being impeached. It's time for President Pence. At least it's an improvement. So they're not even enthusiastic about him. They started up a new website, presidentpence.com, which labels him as a bland, boring, completely typical, ordinary conservative Republican from Indiana. I think that's being, look, it's really offensive towards him, but I think it's also being too charitable for him. Mike Pence is a crazy person. I mean, you could, like, Mike Pence, let's see, doesn't brag about sexually assaulting women. Yeah, but the stuff he says and thinks about women is pretty objectionable in its own right. And one of the reasons why I would not have a huge problem with him following Donald Trump if Donald Trump were somehow to be removed, and most people seem to forget this, so I feel like I have to reiterate it over and over and over again, is that if your president is impeached and removed, and then you come in as the guy who replaces a president who was taken out of the office in disgrace, that is not a position of strength from which to rule the country, okay? That you won't be able to get anything done effectively, and it's going to hurt you so much going to the next election. Everybody seems to forget that. They just think, oh yeah, well, Trump would be out, but Pence is really bad too. He'd just come in and do whatever he wants. No, it's a position of incredible weakness. But anyway, that's what Bill Kristol and his group are doing, trying to remind some regular Republicans, I guess, that, like, hey, like, remember when we had people who, like, mostly did what we wanted and agreed with us on our judicial philosophy, but weren't constant embarrassments every single day? Maybe we can go back to that. So from the other side, so that's from the right, not from the absolute left, but from at least Trump's relative left, Mike Bloomberg has an ad. He has lots of ads, actually, because he's spent, like, what, $250 million so far? It's insane. But some of it might be valuable, I guess. Now, this is the sort of ad that it's, if you're a regular person, or if you're like, I don't know, Morning Joe, you're going to see this and think, oh my God, it's brutal. Even the headline that I'm looking at says it's a brutal ad. I don't think it's a brutal ad. I think it's a perfectly fine ad. But it is the sort of ad that I think is probably pretty effective on regular people. So Bloomberg runs this ad. It's talking about Trump and the military. And so the voiceover says, the Pentagon. President Trump arrives for a briefing by top military leaders. Trump explodes, attacks the war heroes in the room as losers and a bunch of dopes and babies. It's that thing we talked about like a week ago. Many in the room had risked their lives for our country. Soldiers, heroes, attacked by an erratic and out of control president. Arrogance, ignorance, chaos. Enough! America needs a steady leader who will honor those who serve. So what I don't like about this, and obviously it's not designed for someone like me, is the ridiculous deference to literally anyone wearing a uniform. Like, yes, all those people in that room probably have risked their lives. Let's not go crazy, okay? That's a dangerous road to go down too. Admire and respect their service. Don't mock them and spit in their face the way Donald Trump does. But they're not literal gods on earth, okay? Let's keep it. There's a lot of people who serve. But anyway, I do think for regular people that is going to be pretty effective. And again, like this is, you remember yesterday in our live video, we talked about the traumatic brain injury thing where he's attacking soldiers for being injured in the conflict that he started with Iran. Like, they should remake this ad and throw that in there too. Like, he's mocking the fact that their brains are injured. And he's just going to keep doing that. Like, they could make versions of this that talk about his insults against John McCain and everything. I know that there have been ads like that in the past. But if you have hundreds of millions of dollars to just blanket the airwaves with the sort of stuff it's not really designed to stimulate, like, left turnout. Thank you, Amanda. I do feel a little bit less sick. But can be a reminder to some relatively reasonable Republicans that, like, there was a time that came before this, and maybe in some ways it was better. And so, look, I want to see more like that. Like, if Bloomberg is going to be spending all this money, I would much rather it be doing this that is going to have some sort of lingering effect, rather than what I would say is probably a futile effort to win the Democratic primary. I don't think that's going to happen, although he is moving up in the national polls. It's one of the reasons we keep sort of checking in with his spending. It's because it is, like, objectionable, I think, on objective grounds that you can spend $250 million. But it's also kind of annoying that, and you can get to like 9% nationally. You can race past all these other people who've been campaigning for a year because you're spending $250 million. So we can't totally count him out. Okay, just bear that in mind. But anyway, I do like this. Ads coming from all directions, and especially because, as I alluded to, Donald Trump is always watching TV. It is always true. And, it's like they say, there's always someone in the war room. That was Michael Schor's tagline. Yeah, there's always Donald Trump in a room with a TV. So when that ad ran, and by the way, I guess I should have said this from the outset, that Bloomberg ad ran on Fox and Friends. In fact, they introed it on the show, ran the ad, and then they had some Bloomberg person on. And obviously, Kilmeade was, like, incensed about it. But not as much as Donald Trump, who was watching and immediately tweeted this. Mini Mike Bloomberg is playing poker with his foolhardy and unsuspecting Democrat rivals. He says that if he loses, he really means when, in the primaries, he will spend money helping whoever the Democrat nominee is. By doing this, he figures, they won't hit him as hard during his hopeless presidential campaign. They will remain silent. The fact is, when Mini loses, except he writes losses, when Mini losses, he will be spending very little of his money on these clowns because he will consider himself to be the biggest clown of them all, and he will be right. I don't know, what is he talking about? So in his mind, Mike Bloomberg is like spending this money to win, even though he knows he's going to lose. And then he says he's going to help out the other Democrats. But when it comes time, he won't, because he'll look around and say, clown, clown, clown. Wait, I'm the biggest clown. What does any of that mean? I have no doubt that Minnie is going to lose. I do agree with him there. Hey, Lewis. No, unfortunately, I don't have a date for Cuomo. I got bumped from my appearance that was supposed to happen a couple days ago, and I haven't heard back yet. By the way, hit the like button if you haven't already done it. Please do that. If you don't hit the like button, Minnie losses. Okay? Anyway, I don't even know. Here's the thing. Donald Trump obviously has to respond, and he can't help but reveal things. So what he's revealing here is, one, he's spending his day once again watching Fox and Friends, which is literally like, dude, watch Picard. It's streaming right now. You can watch that. Two, that there is something about Bloomberg that I think does trigger Donald Trump. Bloomberg is at like 9%. But like he's not leading in literally any polls. It's unlikely Trump is going to have to go against him. And yet he has tweeted many times about Mike Bloomberg. He doesn't do that with like Klobuchar, or Booker back in the day. Like there's something about Bloomberg. And I think it's probably the fact that Bloomberg, is an actual billionaire, which frustrates me, but for a totally different reason than it frustrates Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just consumed by jealousy and probably a little bit of fear, because remember, what he's talking about there is to some extent that Minnie is going to lose, but then also that Minnie is going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to try to get Trump defeated. That's pretty important. I don't think it's the most important thing, because there's so much talk about a general election that it sort of swamps things anyway. But if he's just brutally attacking Donald Trump in ad after ad, Donald Trump is probably kind of scared about that. And so he is revealing in these tweets that he's thinking a lot about Mike Bloomberg. I would also just mention, we're probably going to talk about this on the main show today. I'm going to be joining Anna Kasparian. So on on MSNBC, on Morning Joe, they had former Obama campaign manager Jim Messina on. Now, Jim Messina is like if you had to like take a chunk out of the vague concept of the Democratic establishment and form it into a human, it would basically create Jim Messina. So anyway, he came on. You'll be surprised he came on MSNBC to attack Bernie Sanders. So he said that Bernie Sanders campaigning on things like free college tuition, quote, is a message I think is going to get him killed in the general election. He says he's he's asked a question. You think Bernie's the worst candidate? He says, I don't think there's a question about it. He's the worst candidate. So all of these polls, poll after poll after poll, general election with him beating Donald Trump. The most recent set had him beating Trump by a bigger. Thank you, Amanda. That's really nice. But had him beating Trump by a bigger margin than Biden. But like, if you look at all of them over the last year, Biden has generally been doing a little bit better. I think that will change over time, but we have to acknowledge it now. But still, Bernie has always been beating Trump. And you can look at the general election matchup of all the other candidates. There are others who are beating Trump by a lesser margin. There are some who are tied with him, some who are losing to him. So it is insane to go on MSNBC and claim that there's no question he's the worst possible candidate. And he goes on to say, I think it's clear to me with these swing voters I care about, the Trump-Obama voters in Midwestern states, Bernie Sanders is not the candidate we need to beat Donald Trump in November. Here's the thing. He's talking about Trump-Obama voters. The people who voted for a Democrat and then when Hillary Clinton was the option, instead voted for Trump, and says that is evidence that Bernie Sanders is the worst possible nominee, even though Bernie Sanders is obviously the opposite of Hillary Clinton. So Biden, for instance, someone who is far closer to Hillary Clinton, he sees that not as something that he's worried about that repeating the pattern from 2016, but he thinks going in the exact opposite direction, that would repeat the 2016 pattern. That's absurd. And of course, look, he's brought on MSNBC. They're not going to give him hard follow-up questions. He's there just as a representative of the Democratic Party to attack Bernie Sanders and then go back to preaching unity. By the way, I'm like halfway through writing my op-ed for The Hill this week is about the concept of unity, what the Democratic establishment means when they use it, the sort of myth of unity, and then what unity should actually mean in the context of a Democratic primary. So that'll be coming up hopefully just in a couple of days on The Hill. So look forward to that. Nerlene says, hey, John, who's your VP pick? There's a bunch that I think would be totally fine. Somebody was talking to me. Was it Edwin? Was it Craig? Was really suggesting Pramila Jayapal? Who was that? And said that basically because of her long focus on Medicare for all, that could be like her mission in the same way that Biden was supposed to help with the Affordable Care Act. I do play Magic. So I know hold up. I'm seeing a lot of suggestions. So VP Yang, I don't think that's going to happen. They disagree fundamentally on a lot of issues. So I don't think that's going to happen. I see some Tulsi. He's never given any indication. I know that's been a popular thing that a lot of people have been saying for like the last year, but it's not impossible. But I've never heard him indicate anything like that. I think someone like Nina Turner is way more likely. I would say there's probably like 10 or 20 that are more likely at this point. I think Tulsi's more likely than Yang, just because him and Yang, they fundamentally disagree on a lot of stuff. I just don't think it would be productive. It would be interesting. I mean, I would love to have Yang in the race longer, but AOC unfortunately can't constitutionally. I don't think he's going to pick Joe Rogan. I really don't. I'm glad that he would not. I think that Nina Turner is probably pretty likely. No, I see a lot of people. So this one person keeps repeating Trump 2020. I don't think he's going to pick Trump as his VP. I just don't think it's going to happen. Dennis Kucinich, I doubt it. I don't think so. Maxine Waters, I don't think so. Presley, maybe. I don't know. Presley's, working for Larry David. That would be pretty funny. Charlie Kelly, I doubt it. Presley's working for Warren, obviously. Snoop Dogg 2020. I don't think so. I did see that Snoop Dogg is now doing ads for Dunkin' Donuts, like plant-based sausage. Like maybe he's some sort of vegetarian activist. Like it could be worse. Ellen says, do you think Tulsi Gabbard will switch parties? No, I don't think so. I think she obviously disagrees with a lot of Democrats on a lot of things, but I don't think that she's going to switch. She definitely sees herself as a Democrat. I mean, she'd previously been involved with the DNC. Why can't he pick AOC? It's just a constitutional, an age requirement, unfortunately. I think she would be awesome. Like, nothing would make me happier. And honestly, like, nothing matters in DC anymore anyway. Just do it. What are they going to do? Who cares? Honestly, who cares? I mean, I know they would freak out. All the conservatives would pretend to suddenly care about the Constitution. I say do it. Who cares? Fine, if we go through a couple months and it's a big deal, replace her. But, like, honestly, just pick AOC. Yeah. Who cares what the Constitution says? Honestly, nobody actually does. It's all BS. If AOC has many birthdays as John, she'd be of age. That's definitely true. Thankfully, she's way younger than me, and so we'll have her for a long time. VP Meghan McCain. Shut up. Okay, shut up with the bullshit. It's nonsense. You know what you did. Okay, 2,000 people need to hit the like button. For Bernie Sanders, okay. Hillary Clinton says nobody likes Bernie. Let's show Hillary Clinton with the like button who loves Bernie. Thank you, Nerlin. Meghan McCain. Ro Khanna would be awesome. Yeah, look, I think that